Good afternoon. I was born Frances Ellen Watkins on September the 24th, 1825 in Baltimore, Maryland, to three black parents. After marrying, I became Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. An aunt and uncle raised me after both my parents died when I was 3. My life has been devoted to the abolitionist and suffrage movements, as well as to campaigning for temperance. Over the years, I worked with Frederick Douglass, Frances Willard, Mary Ann Shadd Cary, Ida B. Wells, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony, among others. When I felt it necessary, I publicly disagreed with their positions. I co-founded the National Association of Colored Women's Club and also published books of poetry, a novel, and other writings. Now, what you will hear today is taken entirely from my writings. I feel I am something of a novice upon this platform, born of a race whose inheritance has been outrage and wrong. Most of my life has been spent battling against those wrongs, but I did not feel as keenly as others that I had these rights in common with other women, which are now demanded. About 2 years ago, I stood within the shadows of my home. A great sorrow had befallen on my life. My husband had died suddenly, leaving me a widow with 4 children, one my own and the others stepchildren. I tried to keep my children together, but my husband died in debt, and before he had been in his grave 3 months, the administrator had swept all away. I took my children in my arms and went out to seek my living. I say then that justice is not fulfilled so long as woman is unequal before the law. We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul. You tried that in the case of the Negro. You pressed him down for 2 centuries, and in so doing, you crippled the moral strength and paralyzed the spiritual energies of the white men of the country. Society cannot afford to neglect the enlightenment of any class of its members. I do not believe that giving the woman the ballot is immediately going to cure all the ills of life. Now, you white women speak here of rights. I speak of wrongs. I, as a colored woman, has had in this country an education which has made me feel as if I were in the situation of Ishmael. One hand against every man and every man's hand against me. Going from Washington to Baltimore this spring, they put me in the smoking car. They did it once, but the next time they tried, they failed, for I would not go in. I felt the fight in me, but I don't want to have to fight all the time. One day I took my seat in the car, and the conductor came to me and told me to take another seat. I screamed, "Murder!" The man said if I was black, I ought to behave myself. I knew that if he was white, he was not behaving himself. Are there no wrongs to be righted? The tendency of the present age is toward broader freedom, an increase of knowledge, the emancipation of thought, and recognition of the brotherhood of man. And in this movement, woman as a companion of man must be a sharer. So close is the bond between man and woman that you cannot rise up with one without lifting the other. The world cannot move without woman's sharing in the movement. The ballot in the hands of woman means power added to influence. How well she will use that power, I cannot foretell. But I know that no nation can gain its full measure of enlightenment and happiness if one half of it is free and the other half is fettered.